who isn't here tonight. All right. So thank you for coming. And to get started this evening, we're just going to go ahead and find ourselves flat onto our backs. So whichever direction might feel best for you. Just to go ahead and take a nice long stretch from fingertips to toes, bringing your arms overhead. Really stretching, maybe taking the hands and really making them as if they were reaching, and pointing the toes. Really nice and firm. And then going ahead and gently release. And the same thing in the opposite way, that you can bring your feet as if you were standing and take the hands as if they were the fingertips reaching towards the sky, so bending in the wrists. So fingertips and toes to the sky. Maybe scrunch up the face and the legs. Nice big breath, and then release. And as it's comfortable, you can bring one hand to your belly, one hand to your heart, and to begin and center the practice, can begin with one Om, taking an inhale and an exhale, and an inhale again. And keeping your eyes closed, you can allow your attention to come to your physical body. Noticing where the heels, the calves, the back of the body through the base of the head find support onto the earth. Allowing the front body to feel light and relaxed as you lift towards the sky. And that awareness again to the back body, finding the support, and this time bringing awareness to the weight. As you know, there's no other place to be. Than right here on your mat this evening. And then bringing that attention along the front part of the body as your awareness allows a lightness, and if there could be a gentle lift visually towards the sky. And then one more time around to the back body, feeling heavy. And with each exhale, feeling a little more heavy. And then your awareness back to the front body with a gentle lift and lightness. as if with each inhale, you were floating, a little less tension, the peace of knowing that you are exactly where you need to be. And then with each exhale, noticing the weight of the back body. And with each inhale, bringing the awareness to the lightness of the front body. Allowing your own attention to sync with the body and the breath. And then nice and gentle, keeping that awareness of the body and the breath, you can allow your attention to slowly travel towards your mind. As you take time to set an intention for your practice. If there's an intention that you are currently just really delving into, I would invite you to continue that track of thinking. I would also just invite you on the yoga layer, yoga concept, to consider the Yoga Sutra of this idea that yoga is the stilling of the mind, even as it's changing and thinking about the day, thinking of things outside of this space. So kind of considering the word stilling and how do we bring that stillingness to our practice, if that's a word. And then nice and gentle, releasing the hands beside the body. Taking a moment to bend the knees to bring the soles of the feet to the earth. Maybe bring your arms out as wide as the mat or into a T. Bringing your feet as wide as your mat. And maybe finding some little movements, and then nice and slow, allowing your knees to fall to the right as the gaze could be up to the sky, or maybe gently over to the left. As you breathe into the left side body. And then nice and gentle, you're just going to lift the left knee back to the sky. And your right foot, you're going to slide it underneath, in between the hip and the foot. And then take your left hand and reach down to your right foot. Maybe start to hug the foot in closer to your hip. If you're not able to hold on to the foot tonight, that's fine. Just hug that foot towards the hip as you possibly start to find a little release in the right hip flexor, front part of the leg. If it feels like you want to go maybe a little bit more, there's always the option of picking up your left foot, taking that right hand and hugging into the body. Allowing your attention to come to the breath. Again, that continuation, that with each exhale, there's a little more grounding, which could be physically just that awareness of showing up to where you are. And with each inhale, a little lightness. And then very gently, that left leg is on the mat to release it. If you're holding on to the foot, gently let go and bring your right knee up to the sky. Maybe straighten your legs. Again, a nice long stretch with the arms overhead. And inhale through the nose. Sigh, letting go, breath from the mouth. And again, nice and gentle, bringing the arms back beside the body or a T. Bending your knees to bring your feet maybe as wide as your mat. Allowing that sacrum to release, the shoulders to release. Connecting into the inhale and a gentle twist of the knees to the left on the exhale. And the gaze could be in any direction that feels best. Eyes opened or closed. And then return back to the breath as you notice the weight and the lightness of the body. And then nice and gentle, bringing the right knee back to the sky. Taking the left foot and threading it between the foot and the hip, sliding it towards the bum, maybe leaving it there or taking the right hand and holding on to your left foot. Awareness to the sacrum and the hips, noticing how that might feel. Could feel a little bit different on this side as it did the opposite. Again, always the option of the eyes opened or closed. And again, if you feel like you want to see or challenge, you can pick up your right leg, hug it in, and maybe take the left hand to the right knee and hug a little bit more. And that reconnection back to the breath. Grounding on the exhale, a lightness on the inhale. And so sometimes using visuals can help tap into those sensory parts of the brain. So maybe grounding for you could be someplace that you love to be outdoors, where you feel safe and supported. And then maybe in that same place or a different place is where the lightness can come, where you feel most childlike and have fun. And then nice and gentle, releasing the right foot down to the mat, releasing that left foot, bringing both knees back to the sky, and straightening the legs and the arms overhead. Again, a nice long stretch. And then very gently bringing up the right foot and the left hand as we start to coordinate the body and the brain. Inhaling, lowering the arm and the leg down to the mat. Exhaling, left leg, right arm up to the sky. Inhaling, lowering down to the mat. Exhaling, right leg, left arm to the sky. Inhaling, lowering down to the mat. Exhaling, left leg, right arm to the sky. Inhaling, lowering down to the mat. And then nice and gentle, bending the knees, soles of the feet to the mat, bringing the arms to the outside of the hips, and then hugging the thighs towards the body. Maybe a little sacral stretch as the hips just kind of rock from side to side. If there are no back issues, well, I would say if there are back issues, continue to just kind of do this little rock from side to side. If you want to kind of tap into a different place, I would invite you to pause, to bring the legs a little more forward. So you're creating a little arch in that lower back. The belly's kind of lifting forward. And then as you exhale, hugging in, lifting the tail a little bit from the mat. Inhaling, bringing the knees away from the body, creating space between the lower back and the mat. Exhaling, hugging the legs to the body, a little lift of the tail. One more time. Knees away from the body, space between the lower back and the mat. Exhale, hugging the knees back into the body, a little lift of the tail. And then very gently bringing the feet to the mat. We're going to slowly roll over to all fours and find ourselves in tabletop position. So allowing the hands to come underneath of your shoulders, the knees underneath of your hips. Allowing your belly to come down towards the mat as you roll your shoulders away from your ears and pause in cow position. So if this feels like a great place to just kind of hang out and maybe shift the weight of the hips from side to side, feel free to tap into that motion. Maybe even taking the shoulders, finding the side body in a little stretch. And then returning back to stillness. As you find support, softly tuck the tail, arch your back, Tuck your chin, pausing in cat position, creating space between the upper and lower teeth, relaxing in the jaw, dropping the crown down to the floor as the neck finds space. The shoulders relax. Breathing into your upper back, your lats, opening up the heart between the shoulder blades. And then from here, gently shifting the weight of the body to one side, so a little side stretch. And then maybe nice and slow, shifting the weight of the body to the opposite. So physically, what you're kind of doing is just rocking the weight from one knee to the opposite as the hips follow the weight of that knee. And then nice and gentle, returning back to stillness. Bringing the big toes together and the knees really wide onto the mat. Finding your inhale. And as you exhale, hips to heels, child's pose. So if the forehead isn't quite there, you can use your forearms or your fists to bring the floor up to you. If your forehead's relaxed onto the floor or even relaxed in a different space and it feels good to the shoulders, you might bend your elbows and bring the hands up to the sky. Maybe touch the fingers above the head, fingertips touching. Possibly dropping the heart down towards the mat a little bit more. That return to the exhale, finding weight. And the return to the inhale as you find light. And nice and gentle, bringing the hands back down to the mat and just kind of walking the right hand or pulling it back towards the ear, a little weight in that right palm. And then taking the left hand, threading it underneath of that right arm, bringing the left cheek down to the mat and the left shoulder. So from here, that right hand can stay where it is with the elbow bent. Or if you feel like you want to extend, reaching towards the front of the mat, feel free to do that too. Return back to the breath. And an inhale. And an exhale. Finding weight and lightness. And then nice and slow. Pressing into that right hand as it comes close to the body to return back. Hips still to those heels. Maybe noticing the difference between the right shoulder and the left. From this space, taking the right hand, threading it underneath of the left arm. So that right shoulder comes down to the mat, maybe the right cheek to the mat. Your left hand can stay where it is, or you can send it forward as it reaches to the front. Opening the space again between the shoulder blades as you breathe into the back body. Breathing, noticing the exhale, the groundedness. The inhale, the light. The stilling of the mind. As you know, there is no other place to be. Allowing those hips to really sink into the heels. And then nice and slow. If the hand is forward, drawing it back to the mat, pressing into that left hand and returning back to the palms. Nice and easy. Walking the hands a little more forward. Coming back to tabletop. Hands a little bit wider than the shoulders. Index finger pointing forward. Curling your toes. Lifting the knees, the hips to the sky. For down dog. So I would just invite you to kind of play with where it feels good with the feet. So again, if there's any kind of back issues, you want to keep those feet nice and wide onto your mat. Bending the knees a little bit more as the belly button comes to the spine. You can look forward to the hands to see how they may be onto the mat too. And then if you find that the feet or the back feel comfortable and you want to move the feet maybe a little bit closer together, feel free to do that. But finding a place where you can pause and breathe into the stillness. Still tapping into that exploration of weight and lightness with each exhale and inhale. Really just enjoying being in down dog, whether it starts to feel heavy, and if that heaviness is too much, to know you can come to all fours or child's pose. But otherwise, really invite that groundedness, knowing that the hands and the feet are semi supporting you in the same way, right? They're both holding you up. Typically, it's just our feet holding us up. So our hands, the upper body, the heart, the throat, the mind have just as much power as the bottom part of the body, where we find groundedness. And then nice and slow, walking your hands back to the back of the mat, dropping the crown towards the floor. Knowing the hands could rest onto the floor. You might want to take one hand to one elbow, so kind of that rag doll. And gently, again, rocking from side to side. Even playing with the weight of the feet. And when you start to feel good, to just enjoy that stillness, that letting go of anything in the mind, anything that may come up ground up, right? And finding the lightness wherever that may be. And then wherever those hands are, so if they're resting on the elbows, gently bring them towards the earth, to the ankles, and slowly rise halfway to a flat back. May the gaze, the shift of attention goes more towards the center, or possibly the eyes are closed and you just notice the weight of your head. And then nice and slow, exhaling, dropping your crown back down to the earth. Inhaling, rise halfway, flat back. Exhaling, dropping your crown back to the earth. Inhaling, rise halfway, flat back. Exhaling, dropping the crown back to the earth. Nice and slow, a bend in the knees, rolling up one vertebrae at a time, allowing the shoulders and the head to be the last thing to rise as we come to stand. Rolling the shoulders to the back of the room as you open your palms, close your eyes in standing mountain pose. That awareness of lightness with the inhale, maybe through, again, the front body to the crown of the head. And as you exhale, the groundedness and weight through the back body, the soles of the feet. And then nice and slow, inhaling, bringing the arms up to the sky. From this space, taking the right hand and holding on to the left wrist. Inhaling your hand high. And as you exhale, extending to the right side of the room. And grounding down through the feet. A lot of times that the side that we are stretching from, that we're placing a little more weight. So seeing if that right foot can feel just as much weighted or just as evenly weighted. So I'd invite you to either decide to stay here or possibly this time bringing more weight to the right foot, bending the left knee, bringing it behind you, so sliding it behind the right and kind of working towards bringing your left heel down to the mat. Maybe releasing the wrist if you're holding on to it, a little more stretch. And then nice and gentle, returning back to standing mountain. Again, if it feels good to close the eyes or your balance feels comfortable, do that. But that awareness to the difference between the right and left side of your body. Inhaling your hands high to the sky. This time, the left hand to the right wrist. Inhaling high. Exhaling to the left side of the room. And feeling that breath. from the soles of your feet upwards. I always think of like a rainbow or a waterfall. And from here, bending your right knee, sliding the foot behind the left, working towards bringing the back heel to the mat. Maybe releasing the wrists. Again, knowing the eyes could be opened or closed. Knowing that neck can always look down towards the earth or up to the sky. And then very gently bringing everything back down to standing mountain. The difference between the right and the left side. If it feels good to roll the wrists or shift the weight of the hips. From here, we're gonna inhale, bring the feet a little almost as wide as the mat. The heels are gonna come more towards the center. Take a bend in your knees and start to just slide your hands down the knees as we move towards a squat. So the hands can come forward. If you find that full squat is not available, just go to the spot that works best for you. You can always bring a blanket or pillows underneath of your heels so it brings the floor up to you. Again, kind of dropping the tailbone down towards the earth, and if it feels good to just kind of rock your hips a little bit from side to side. If it feels like you would want to bring the hands up to the heart, palms together. Again, closing the eyes, connecting with your breath. Grounding on the exhale. Lightness on the inhale. With that, knowing that they just continue to loop a circle, one right into the next. And then very gently, wherever the hands can be, bring them down more towards the mat. And I'm going to start by bringing my right hand behind me and then my left, so I can sit on my bum and bring my legs straight out in front of me. Maybe a little shake of the legs, a little love on the thighs and the shins. So we're going to start with the right so I can kind of give a better example from here. We are going to send our body towards the right, bring the right palm down, and then that right forearm. From here, we are going to pick up that left leg and cross it over the right. So kind of crossing it as far as you can go, right? If it feels like you need to even roll a little more onto the outside of that right hip, that's an option. So this is kind of like step one, and then kind of roll the heart open. Now from here, if you want to go a little bit more, you can bend your bottom knee So it's coming in closer to the body. And if you want a little bit more, take that top hand, pick up the foot or the ankle. So this might be where you find that you kind of reposition, coming more to one side of the hip or the other as you, again, you're stretching the outside of that top leg, stretching the front part of the quads. Reconnection to the breath and the body and the mind. And then very gently releasing that bottom leg, bringing the top foot back to the mat, coming back to both palms and sending the weight of the hips to the heels as you gently come into or come onto your back. From here, lifting the knees, hugging the legs into the body. Again, if that feels good, gently rocking the hips from side to side. Taking the hands and sliding them down to your ankles and hugging the feet to the body a little bit more. Very gently, the hands to the outside of the knees, slowly rolling back up into our sitting position and doing the same thing on your opposite side. So again, the legs straight out in front of you to start. This time bringing your hands to the left as you bring that left forearm down in front of you. The right knee is going to bend, stretch over to the left side of the room. Again, a great place to just hang out. Notice how the arms and the body feel. If you want to go a little bit more, then take a bend in that bottom knee, bringing it towards the bum. And if you want to go a little bit more, take that right hand and reach towards the left foot, stretching into your bottom thigh, the outside of your right hip. So you could just kind of sink down into the side body here, but you can also find a little lift as you press into the elbow so that the bottom, the rib cage is lifting up and maybe opening the heart, rolling the shoulders away and heart to the sky. The neck, the head to wherever might feel best for you. That connection to the body, the breath, and the mind. As you gently release that back leg, bring the top knee back to the sky, coming to both elbows again. This time, again, shifting the weight of the hips towards the heels, hugging your legs back into your body. Having your right hand on your right knee and your left hand on your left knee, the hands to the inside of the knees, and just allowing everything to open. Maybe closing your eyes and deciding whether you want to stay right here or move towards happy baby as the hands slide towards the ankles, as the soles of the feet become parallel to the sky. Maybe sliding the hands upwards to the soles. Now, if the head or the shoulders have to come off of the mat or stay off of the mat, then there's a little too much strain going on. So just go ahead and let off. So with each exhale, a grounding and a letting go. And with each inhale, a lightness, a lift. And then very gently bringing the soles of the feet back together. A little hug again of those feet towards the body. And then nice and slow, knees back together. Soles of the feet to the mat. And stretching the legs out long, the arms overhead. Taking one final stretch from fingertips to toes as we prepare for Shavasana pose. Inhale through the nose. Exhale from your mouth. And then gently bring the arms beside the body as we prepare. So if you have something at home that you want to put underneath of your knees, whether that's a pillow or a bolster, an eye pillow for the eyes, a blanket for your belly. One more inhale through the nose. Big sigh, exhale, letting go breath from the mouth. And back to exploring the back side of the body. A lightness to the front side of the body. As you feel your forehead relax, your eyes heavy in the back of your head. And jaws relaxed. Tongue wide and soft in your mouth. Front of the throat, back of the neck, completely relaxed. Shoulders, elbows, wrists, and fingers relaxed. Lower back, middle back, and upper back completely relaxed. Heart, belly, internal organs, soft and relaxed. Hips, thighs, knees, calves, ankles, and feet. Your entire lower body is completely relaxed. From the soles of your feet to the crown of your head and all the space around you is completely relaxed. As thoughts come to you, observe and honor them and allow them to go so you can be completely relaxed. Very gently, we'll begin to return. Initially, just reconnecting back in to the physical body. Exploring where the body meets support and beginning to wiggle the fingers and toes. Allowing your attention to come back to the breath as it becomes a little more full. And then as it is comfortable to the body, you can gently bend the knees and roll to one side in fetal position, as if you are just waking up, and pause there. And from that space, sending yourself a thank you for showing up to yourself and your practice, for inviting this new sense of awareness into the rest of your weekend and week. And slowly you can return to a comfortable seated position and close your eyes. May you be happy and free. May you be safe and well. May you feel loving and loved. Om. Namaste. Have a great night.